constitution, a call to to find reasons for this.
May I in nurturing law done by the institution. There can be constitution, the executive, and openly and in arguments before ruling is that unconstitutional amendment and we're waiting to see whether the court rules in our favor, because these are purported amendments that actually undermine the very constitution, undermine constitutionalism, undermine the rule of law. Anybody interested in the constitution, whether an individual or the executive, would begin by honoring the constitution, not violating it. Serial violators of the constitution cannot be the best people to purport to give, in quotes, good faith amendments to the constitution. And for the side, make sure that elections are transparent, fair, accountable, and verifiable, and that will sort out the issue of who is a winner. There cannot be two winners on any election, on any context. There should be one winner who has won fairly and square, and that's what we need by implementing the constitution that we have today.
Now, Honorable Martha Karua, you've been described as a politician that is cut from a different cloth, not your typical politician. They have often referred to you as the conscience of Kenya. We have seen development in Kenya where the president and these deputy president, William Ruto, do not see eye to eye. It's been locked out of, his constitutional duties as vice president. A typical politician, since you belong to the opposition, would be happy with that development. You could explore the cracks in the Jubilee Party and take advantage of that. But you've been very vocal, and you're not really happy that things aren't going well between the vice president and the president, His Excellency Uhuru Kenyatta. Why is that?
We have taken whatever advantage we can, but we would be wrong in not commenting on the unconstitutionality of things as they are. Under our constitution, the president runs for office with a running mate, a deputy president. Same way as a governor runs with a running mate, a deputy governor. The president or the governor cannot fire a running mate mid-term. If there is disagreement which they cannot resolve, they have an option of dissolving government and seeking mandate with the people, or finding a way of working with each other. And it is not open to the president to utilize his office as though it were personal property, to lock out his deputy. And I'm not just talking about Uhuru Kenyatta, any president for that matter.
Regardless of the internal politics and workings.
The internal politics of it. In fact, most of the times, even in civil service and in public life, you work with people whom you disagree with, but you find a way of working together because you are duty-bound to deliver to the people. But to entertain a situation where the disagreement obviously hurts the nation, creates tension, creates an untenable situation that I would only describe as the executive behaving badly. The presidency consists of the office of the president and that of the deputy. It has no rule of one using their might to edge out the other. If you cannot arrive at a gentleman's agreement, agree to disagree on the matters that you must, but find a way of working with one another, especially now that it's just 1 year remaining. And it's unfortunate because in Kenya, we have very many governors who mistreat their deputies. By doing what he is doing, the president sort of legitimizes. But it is not for me to take sides on the internal affairs of Jubilee, but from a public point of view and how it relates to governance in the country, we do comment and we say this is not right. Yes.
And like you rightly said, in elections, they both appear on the ballot box, so the interest of the electorate should come first, regardless of personal politics between them. Just before we begin to wrap things up, Honorable Karua, politics in Kenya, as seen in a lot of African countries, is heavily reliant on financial muscle and handouts. A lot of people have weaponized, politicians have weaponized poverty, and a lot of personality politics is done without much conversation on substance, on the issues and manifesto of the political parties. What can we do as Africans to change this and elect leaders based on their credentials?
It is a most unfortunate situation, and it is the reality. And I'm saying this is a wake-up call to professionals, to the elites of Africa. You cannot remain disinterested. It is incumbent on professionals, on elites, to join political parties. You realize that most of the elites and professionals stay aloof. Parties consist of those running for office as myself and many others, but the real majority in any party are the grassroots, the people who are actually dealing with bread and butter issues. It is not that they are not possessed of intelligence and common sense, but on a daily basis, their worry is the next meal. So that handout, if it's the next meal, will cloud judgment. But if we have a critical mass of the elite who can actually fund political parties, contribute to policy, hold leaders to account, it will be the beginning. We'll also be able, county by county, to support candidates for governorship, for members of county assembly, for national assembly, and for every election. Most importantly, a critical mass of the elites and professionals will be able to hold party leadership to account and even to force party members who are in leadership behaving badly out of the party or to discipline them. So if we leave it to only those running for office and the grassroots, we are actually, as professionals and the elite, the cause of the problems in Africa. And I keep on asking in my country, which applies to many other places in Africa, when the elite run after even people who they know are not suitable, because you have a hope of winning either government positions or contracts. Just how many of the elites, of the professionals can get government contracts? Isn't it better that we get a leadership that gives us an enabling environment which will propel our country to a place where it is not the person you know, it's your expertise that gets you that business, that contract, much like happened during the first term of President Mwai Kibaki. And Kenya made a lot of the ordinary person had money in their
by Kenya's policy in 2017 general election, heavily contested election for a gubernatorial seat in Kirinyaga County. What is the future for you in politics? Are you interested in the 2022 elections? What capacity?
I'm running Governor Kirinyaga, but I haven't finished business with Kenya's presidency. But politically, I have a chance to serve the people of Kirinyaga as governor and thereafter consider the unfinished national business of Kenya's presidency. So I'm still a product in the political market, and I'm ready, able, and willing to serve my country. Because if it's not me, who else? And this is the question we must ask ourselves as professionals, as the elite. And those of us who can't run, support candidates you know can make a difference at the various levels. I have stepped up the plate to be counted, and I urge each one of us to do the same.
Finally, Honorable Karua, before we wrap things up, what's your message to Kenyans, the citizens, as we inch towards the 2022 general elections, which is in about 13 months or exactly a year from now?
Is that our fate is in our hands. Let us, at all stages, uphold and defend our Constitution so that any talk of postponing elections must be rejected. We must make sure that our elections are in August 2022 without fail, and we must make the right choices. We must join political parties of choice and support candidates of choice. And to remember, if we do it the same way we've been doing, the difference will be the same. We have to think, how can I be an agent of change? Each one of us and all of us together are the answer to Kenya's problems and to Africa's problems. Thank you.
And on that note, I would like to say a big thank you to you, Honorable Martha Karua. Thank you very much for talking to us at News Central. We do appreciate your insight and candor, and we wish you all the best for the future.
Thank you for having me. And we must say that Africa and Africans must take charge of their destiny.
Indeed. Thank you very much, Honorable Karua.
Thank you, bye.
And that concludes NC Exclusive for today. Our guest has been Honorable Martha Karua, former Justice Minister of the Republic of Kenya, Senior Counsel and NARC political party leader, and Benga Aborowa. Until next time, on NC Exclusive.
The emphasis has always been on IPP. You know, financiers need guarantees. The cost of was quite high. So over the last 5 years, the narrative has changed. It's no more discussing generation and distribution. Now it's actually taking the products to the consumers. Now, if the end products is meant for the consumers, why do financiers and developers always insist on guarantees from the government? That's the question that I think that we would take away from this session or from this event. How would we ensure that collection is enhanced, that consumers pay for power, and if need be, optimize their consumption? Right now, we know the cost of power via electric generators is quite high, yet consumers are reluctant to pay a higher price for grid power. The question is, when it comes from the government sources guaranteed by the government, they seem to have a different view of it. So those are the issues that the financiers, developers, and the government, plus the consumer groups, have to come together, sit down and say, this is a workable solution. It's worked successfully in advanced countries and some emerging markets. Don't see the reason why not.
Hello and welcome to News Central now on News Central Television. I am Blessings Masugu. The headlines at this hour. Lawmakers in the Democratic Republic of Congo remove Sud Kivu province governor for poor performance. Polling centers in Libya attacked by gunmen, taking away over 2,000 voter cards. Zimbabwe confirms presence of Omicron variant in the country. We're coming back shortly with the details. We begin the news at this hour in Central Africa, where legislators in the Democratic Republic of Congo have dismissed in the country's eastern province following several accusations, including poor governance. Theo Ngwabidje was voted out in a motion of no confidence in a session attended by 33 representatives, 28 of whom filed for his dismissal. The sit-in was held amid a clash between the police and members of a public outside the assembly building in the nation's provincial capital, Bukavu. Ngwabidje has been asked to submit his resignation to the president within 48 hours. Now, Sud Kivu has confirmed insecurity or suffered insecurity like most of eastern DR Congo because of the presence of armed rebels. But still staying in that region, the Republic of Chad junta leader Mohamed Idriss Déby Itno has been promoted to a higher rank in the military from a lieutenant to a general. The presidency's head of protocol sent a press release on Thursday informing state institutions and the public of the recent changes. Now, he previously had 4 stars as a lieutenant general. The son of Chad's late leader, Idriss Déby Itno, came to power after the death of his father in April. His father had been president since 1990, and only him had the rank of a 5-star military general before his death. And now the UN humanitarian arm, OCHA, says over 700,000 children have been impacted by school closure due to often brutal violence in Cameroon. Now, 2 out of 3 schools are closed in the northwest and southwest regions of the country. On 24th November, 4 children and 1 teacher were killed in an attack in Ekondo Titi in the southwest. The UN Global Fund for Education in Emergencies and Crisis, Education Cannot Wait, have been working closely with UN agencies, the Norwegian Refugee Council, and other civil society partners to bring solution to the education situation. The groups hope to provide access to safe and protective learning environments in the most affected areas. We now head up north of the African continent, where the Libyan High National Elections Commission, the HNEC, says 4 of its election centers have been attacked by a group of gunmen. The head of the main operations chamber of the HNEC, Saeed Al-Kasabi, said the gunmen in civilian clothes launched the attack, taking away 2,312 voter cards and damaging 69 others. Interior Minister Khalid Mazen on Tuesday warned that obstructing the security plans of the elections could threaten the whole electoral process. The UN support mission in Libya, UNSMIL, on Monday condemned acts to aim at jeopardizing the integrity of the elections in Libya. Now, UNSMIL said an armed group allegedly affiliated with forces controlling the southern city of Seba has been reported to violently obstruct the work of a court of appeal. But still staying in Libya, a high court in southern Libya has reinstated Saif al-Islam Gaddafi, the son of slain leader Muammar Gaddafi, as a candidate in next month's presidential election. Saif al-Islam, who is wanted by the International Criminal Court for alleged war crimes, had registered to run on November 14, but was among 25 candidates whose bid was rejected by the Elections Board last week. Now, earlier, Saif al-Islam lodged an appeal at the court in Seba against the Electoral Commission's rejection of his application last month. The Commission had pointed to articles of the electoral law stipulating that candidates must present a clean criminal record. And now from North Africa, we move to the West, where President Roch Marc Christian Kabore has vowed to improve the fight against terrorism following protests in Burkina Faso. Meanwhile, many people feel that these are empty words and have been calling for his resignation. a surge of Islamic militant violence in Burkina Faso, a presidential election in the Gambia, the country's Truth, Reconciliation and Reparations Commission, TRRC, hired James Herrer to the incumbent president Adama Barrow. The commission in its report also recommended to Barrow's administration the prosecution of a list of officials, including the ex-leader himself, as President Barrow is seeking re-election. As victims who testified before the commission are concerned, Barrow will not follow through with the report's recommendations.
What we cannot change, facts, what we cannot change is that even though even if anything about it, that is not